Hi, I'm Izzy. Welcome to Be Kind Rewind. I am the person behind the channel, and we're gonna do a Q&A. As you know, this is typically a video essay channel, and it will continue to be a video essay channel in the future. But I took a few weeks off after I published my last video, and I didn't really want to leave you guys hanging without content for an entire month. So I thought I would film a video to sort of introduce myself and to talk a little bit about what this channel is about. I asked you guys to send in questions, and we got a ton of responses, and I'm super excited to answer them for you. Before I get started, I just wanted to say thank you to everyone who has subscribed to this channel. I never expected anyone to watch these videos. I thought they would just disappear into the ether of the internet. So I'm just very pleasantly surprised that I've found this community here. So I just wanted to say thank you again to all of my subscribers, and especially to my patrons who are so generous and so kind. Thank you. So let's just hop right in. Favorite books on the golden age of Hollywood and or your favorite actresses. This is the best film book that I've ever read. It's called From Reverence to Rape by Molly Haskell. This will change how you view cinema. Ron Haver's book On a Star is Born painfully details everything that happened leading up to and during the filming of the 1954 version. It's pretty brutal, but it's an incredible read, and you will definitely have some sympathy for Judy Garland afterward and for everyone who worked with her. Myrna Loy's book, Being and Becoming, is really good. She's just a pretty good writer, actually. I think she wrote it with somebody else, but still, it's very good, and she spends a lot of time complaining about Republicans, which I love. Sam Waston's biography of Bob Fosse that came out really recently is really good. It's probably really good to pair with Fosse Verdon on FX if you watch that. I didn't watch it. He's an excellent writer, so really anything that you pick up by him is going to be really good. If you had to do a video about a historic win in one of the male categories, is there one that immediately comes to mind? No. If you could see the secret vote totals for one Oscar year, which year would it be? That's a really good question. I would definitely do the Whatever Happened to Baby Jane year. I want to know. If Bette Davis says that she thought it was close, I want to know if it was close. I feel like it wasn't close. What made you decide to start your channel in the first place? I've been a fan of movies and classic movies for as long as I can remember, but I really only thought of it as a hobby for a really long time, and I thought it was just kind of impractical to focus on it as a career path. So I guess long story short, I found out that my major that I had chosen, international relations, was not for me. I was living in Berlin at the time, and I went to their movie museum. I suddenly realized that there was this physical space where people were working dedicated to talking about classic films. Like, it was a physical space. It wasn't just me alone with my laptop. It wasn't me Googling pictures or watching interviews on YouTube. Like, there were people there dedicated to maintaining the history of cinema. And I was like, that's a job. I can have that job. Why did I ever think that this could just be a hobby? So I basically started the channel as a way to kind of legitimize my passion for cinema. I didn't have anything on my resume that would say like, oh, she really cares about this. And so I just kind of started it as a way to have something to talk about in interviews, to demonstrate what my skill set was, having worked in digital media and digital strategy, and to just, get to dive into all of these stories. Essentially, it took off from there, and I never expected it to be as big as it was. Or, I mean, it's like still small. I'm not like egotistical about this, but like more than 10 views is surprising to me. Fun fact, the Berlin Film Museum has all of Marlene Dietrich's old stuff. Like, they have all of her costumes and props and things like that. We love her here. I think that's when I decided like, oh, I'm gonna make this about actresses, because actresses were always the way that I entered film history. So in the early days of YouTube, there were literally no content IDs. Like, people would just upload full movies and just leave them up there. So you could just Google, or YouTube, I guess, Bette Davis full movie, and you'd have like her entire filmography just sitting there. So that's how I would learn about film, is I would just sit there, like, watch that whole list, discover someone new, watch her whole list, and, you know, kind of learn that way. If I wanted to get into Jane Fonda's cinema, where would I start? Well, several ways you could do this. So her filmography is kind of split up into like 3 or 4 different pieces. There's like Sex Symbol Jane, who is in kind of dumb rom-coms. And then there's Edgy Activist Jane. So you've got Clute. That's a good place to start. And then you've got Low-Key Activist Jane. So that's 9 to 5 or The China Syndrome. And then you've got Almost Retirement Jane, where she like said she was going to retire, but then she didn't. And then she comes back and is just like playing a lot of rich, stodgy women. Those are fun too. I think Georgia Rule was probably the first movie of hers that I ever saw in a theater, because I was like 14 or something. And it's just really funny to me that that was my exposure to Jane Fonda. The places we've gone since then. What a gift. She's a gift. Love her. Thoughts on Bollywood? I need to learn more about it. I really don't know very much about Bollywood at all. So if you have any recommendations, let me know. Do you work alone? And if so, would you be interested in having a team? I do work alone. Right now I have a full-time job, and then I also do this channel on the side. So basically I'll do the whole 9 to 5 thing and then come home and put in many more hours to work on these videos, which is usually why they take so long to make. There's a lot of research, but there's also just like regular life that I have to live. Also, thank you guys for being patient with that, because I know some channels do once a week, twice a week, every day, which is crazy. I don't know how they do that, but thank you for being patient with the cadence that I'm making things. I know that's probably a little frustrating, but that's how I basically am going to keep sane. You spend a day languishing in Paris with one director and one writer. At the end of the day, they cast you in a star-making role. Who were they, and what did you 3 come up with? Time and money don't matter. I like that we're in Paris. Just great. Love that for us. So it's me, Robert Altman, and Joan Tewksbury in a cafe in Paris. And they immediately realized that I would be very bad at acting, and they don't cast me, but they invite me to some parties. Favorite underrated YouTube channels. Doesn't have to be about film. So I probably watch a lot of stuff that you already watch, but there are some underrated people who I think deserve a lot more attention. Up From the Depths does Godzilla video essays, which Matt Baum does LGBTQ history video essays. He talks about like special episodes and sitcoms where like they'll have a gay friend come in for one episode, and it's usually about like the Golden Girls or other 80s and 90s sitcoms that are really funny. Cold Crash Pictures is very good. He does a bunch of different types of essays, and he just started a series about dinosaurs, which I'm really looking forward to. Melina Pendulum, Princess Weeks, she's amazing, and she really touches the nerd part of my soul that just needs to be like encouraged every once in a while, you know? Oh, there's this new YouTuber, Brie Larson. I don't know if you've heard of her. She's like up and coming, but I don't know. She's new. Are there any non-Best Actress Oscar races that you've analyzed / that live rent-free in your head, like certain years for Best Actor or Best Picture, etc.? So this might actually be surprising to many of you, but I don't actually think about the Oscars as much as people probably think that I do. When I started my channel, my main goal was to tell the story of women in Hollywood history. The way that I decided to do that was basically to anchor their stories in a specific moment in time so that it would just be easier to kind of create the narrative of a journey rather than just more broadly telling you random facts about their life. So the Oscars would allow me to not only contextualize a specific performance, but also talk about how it was received, what the climate of the country was like at that time, and also other performances that you could kind of compare and just kind of get a sense of what filmmaking was like at any given time. I don't really think about it in the horse race aspect. I'm not the kind of person who is eagerly filling out a ballot every year to see if I can correctly guess the most winners and things like that. That's just not really what makes me excited about this kind of stuff. So they don't really occupy a ton of space in my head, but I still think they're interesting, and obviously I spend a lot of time researching all about them. Which classic Hollywood actor do you think is genuinely bad and you don't understand how they became famous? Here's how I'll put this. I think there are some actors that I just haven't had enough exposure to. Let's say that. I'll give you an example. When I first saw an Irene Dunne movie, I was like, not for me. This isn't great. And then I watched, what was it? The Perfect Wife, which was amazing. And I realized I just hadn't seen her in her element. You know what I mean? So I think there are some classic movie stars that I just haven't seen doing their thing in the right environment. So I'm not going to say that they're bad. It's just that I don't get it yet. It hasn't clicked. Norma Shear is one for me. Louise Reiner, I'll never get it. I don't know. Elizabeth Scott, I just haven't seen enough. I don't know. I don't want to say any of these people are bad. I'm just saying I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet. I'm progressing. Will you eventually do all of the Best Actress winners? Probably not. I think there are some that I've kind of addressed in videos that I just don't really feel the need to tackle again. I did a whole video about Meryl Streep, and honestly, I don't think that I want to spend a lot of time researching The Iron Lady or even Sophie's Choice, just because that feels very obvious, and that doesn't seem very interesting to me to research, but who knows, I might get there. Who are some modern day actors who would have excelled in the screwball comedies of the 30s and 40s? Julia Louis-Dreyfus. Favorite outdated old Hollywood fashion trend? Hats and shoulder pads. We should bring those back. What's a movie that you love deeply that you've never mentioned in a video? So many. Most of my favorite movies did not do very well at the Oscars, but I will link a list of some of my favorite movies in the description. Ever since I started watching your videos, I've become interested in watching classic films, but I don't know where to start. So what I would recommend is trying out a bunch of different genres, see what you like. Some are gonna hit with you, some aren't. Maybe try out a screwball comedy. A friend of mine recently watched The Awful Truth and doesn't care about classic cinema at all and had a great time. If you wanna try film noir, Double Indemnity is always amazing to watch. And then if you're thinking a melodrama, maybe The Letter. I would say Roman Holiday for sure. All About Eve. I think The Thin Man is also a good one. In your opinion, what is the most stacked year for Best Actress? Like, easily could have been a complete tie. I think a lot of people would say 1950. I get a lot of requests to do that year, which has made me less inclined to do it because I'm terrified. I don't want to get it wrong. So I promise, I know I need to do it. I'm working on it, just gathering the courage. How do you go about conducting your research for your work? I try not to go in with any preconceived notions about what I'm gonna find. I try to research and see if there are any books on the topic. That's always my first go-to. I still have access to JSTOR via my school. There are a lot of great archives online that you can find. So yeah, I just try to read as much as I can and start to see what threads are running throughout a bunch of different sources and kind of pick up from there. Have you seen Barbara Loden's Wanda? And if so, what are your thoughts on it? It's great. I talked about it a little bit in my Mrs. America video. You've done videos regarding the issues that African American and Asian American actors and actresses have faced and continue facing in Hollywood. Have you thought about doing a video about Hispanic actors and actresses and their own struggles and successes in the entertainment industry? Absolutely, yes. I definitely want to do that. When I make videos like that, I do spend a lot of time researching them and making sure that as a white person, I am being respectful and not white-splaining anything. I try to space them out a little bit so that I have the correct amount of time to research and really do those topics justice, but do know that that is definitely on the agenda and it's very important to me to address. Do you have any pets? Yes, I have a cat named Tomlin, as in Lily. This is him. What is your preferred method to watch movies? I prefer a theater full stop. If I'm at home, I probably will distract myself with my phone or with food or my cat. I don't want to feel like I'm ignoring a filmmaker. That just seems rude.
Just being focused on movies, no noise.
This might be a cliche question, but who are your top 5 favorite actresses if you have any? I cannot pick that. Here are some ones that I like. What's your view on supporting roles winning for leading roles? I don't care. I know a lot of people get very passionate about category fraud, but yeah. Thoughts on Ryan Murphy's shows? What are your thoughts on Netflix's Hollywood? I got through about an episode and a half. I don't love revisionist stories just because I think it puts a lot of responsibility on the audience to kind of parse through what's true and what's not. And as someone who spends a lot of time making sure people know what's true and what's not, that can be kind of frustrating. Here's a nice thing about Ryan Murphy. Ryan Murphy does a really good job casting actresses who need to work more often. We need more Jessica Lange, more Judy Davis. Obviously Sarah Paulson's everywhere, but still Sarah Paulson. Could you do a video on Marilyn Monroe? I think it'd be interesting. I have a really good idea, which I'm probably gonna do, so hold on to that thought. What inspired your interest in older/classic films? Was it a family member or school or something else? TCM was on in our house a lot, so I think I just kind of got access to classic films pretty early on. I also was pretty close to my grandma and talked to her a lot about what her childhood was like. So I became really interested in life in the 30s and 40s, and I think that just kind of bled into me wanting to learn more about classic cinema somehow. Everything just kind of melted together. Did you say you don't like Jean-Luc Godard? I did. I feel kind of bad about it, but it's not for me. Actually, I don't feel bad about it. Do you plan to make some videos on the Best Supporting Actress category? Sure. There are at least 2 that I would really like to talk about, so I definitely see that coming in the future, but I don't know if I would do them in a complete way that I've tackled the Best Actress category. One thing that I think about a lot with my channel is that the Oscars are kind of a barrier to entry for new subscribers. Not that I'm like trying to be like an enormous YouTuber or something, but I think that a lot of people who would be interested in the Hollywood history aspect that I bring to my videos maybe are turned off because they don't pay attention to the Oscars, and that's the first thing you see. That's my thumbnail on so many of my videos. I don't want people to think of my channel as a place to go just to learn about the Oscars. I don't think that's what it is already. Even now, my videos are Oscar video, non-Oscar video, Oscar video, non-Oscar video. And I want to continue to do that to mix it up a little bit. So I have an entire notebook of ideas of things that I want to talk about and I think are really interesting. So I'm hoping that you guys are open to going on that journey with me too, and not just sticking to Oscar topics all the time. But I think the supporting actress category has a lot to offer, and I would be excited to tackle it for sure. What was the film that got you into classic film or film in general? Apparently I would watch The Beauty and the Beast a lot. I don't know if that counts. I don't know if I was like sentient enough to know what I was doing. Maybe Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. I used to rent that a lot at the library, which is maybe weird because I was a child. I don't know what that says about me, and I don't frankly want to know. Do you want to write, direct, or otherwise make films yourself one day? I would like to direct a documentary, I think. I'm not sure that narrative forms are really in my wheelhouse. Who knows? If anyone wants to give me boatloads of money to make a documentary, please feel free. How do you decide which Best Actress races to make videos about? And are there any that you would like to do but can't because there isn't enough information available? Initially, when I started the channel, I picked them randomly, whatever I felt like doing, or if I was just feeling like talking about a certain actress at any given time, I would just pick her. Now my lovely patrons help me pick. How that goes is I offer 3 topics and they vote on the one that they would most like to see. The way I pick the 3 topics is usually also still very random. The things that I usually consider are things that I'm just thinking about at the time, maybe something that's happening in current events, or just a time period that is a little distanced from the last video that I made. Okay, I think that I'm gonna leave it there. Thank you so much for watching this video, for subscribing to my channel, for generally being so nice to me in the comments. I really appreciate that I'm able to talk about things I'm passionate about on YouTube. I just never thought any of this stuff that I've just kept in my brain for so long would be of interest to anyone. So again, I cannot emphasize how surprised I am and happy that this community has developed. I have some really cool things planned for the rest of the year. Something that I think you'll find really exciting in December. So if you're not already, be sure to subscribe, and you can, I guess, hit the little bell notification to make sure that you are alerted when my next video comes out. I think it's going to be really exciting, and judging by the questions you guys were sending in, I think it's a little twist on my usual topic that you might find very interesting. So, like I said, notifications, subscribe, and I'll see you in a few weeks. Thank you.